From the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC to One Direction and the Jonas Brothers, every generation seems to have its own teenage heartthrob. But in the late 2000s, that title belonged to one person, Justin Bieber. When Justin exploded onto the scene, his fans became famous almost as quickly as he did. They packed arenas, flooded social media, followed his every move, and sometimes caused chaos just to catch a glimpse of him. The phenomenon even earned its own name, Bieber fever. But while thousands of young fans eventually grew out of their obsession, one particular fan would remain connected to Justin for years. That fan was Hailey Baldwin, and according to old social media posts, fan accounts, interviews, and claims made by people from that era, Hailey's journey from a 13-year-old Bieber fan to Justin Bieber's wife is one of the most talked about celebrity stories of the last decade. So how did it all begin? In 2009, Justin Bieber was invited to perform his early hits on the Today Show. Backstage, something happened that would later become surprisingly significant. Hailey Baldwin, who was just 13 at the time, was brought backstage by her father, actor Stephen Baldwin, to meet the 15-year-old Justin. A young Hailey was clearly familiar with Justin's music, just like millions of other teenagers at the time. But this wouldn't be her last encounter with him. She would later be seen at one of Justin's performances in Rockefeller Plaza and attended the premiere of his movie Never Say Never in Los Angeles. At the premiere, Stephen Baldwin once again helped his daughter meet Justin, resulting in one of their earliest photographs together. A few months later, Hailey was even photographed with a magazine featuring Justin on the cover. Interestingly, right beside Justin's picture was Selena Gomez, who at the time was becoming romantically involved with him. That relationship would eventually become one of the defining elements of the story. In 2019, a former Justin Bieber superfan named Dana uploaded a video claiming that she had helped connect Hailey with Justin. According to Dana, she once ran a major Justin Bieber fan account with hundreds of thousands of followers. Hailey reportedly followed the account and eventually began communicating with her. The alleged messages were particularly interesting. Dana claimed that Hailey would ask about Justin's whereabouts, including which hotels he was staying at. According to Dana, Hailey would then sometimes stay at the same hotel or visit its restaurant in hopes of crossing paths with Justin. Whether every part of this story is accurate is difficult to verify, but screenshots and old social media interactions have fueled the narrative for years. At one point, Hailey even participated in a Justin Bieber fan video organized by Dana. By this stage, Justin and Selena Gomez had already developed a complicated on and off relationship. But in 2014, Justin and Selena entered one of their longest periods apart. And this was when Hailey's social circle became increasingly important. She became close with Kendall and Kylie Jenner, who were also friends with Justin. Suddenly, Hailey didn't need fan accounts to find information about Justin. She was now part of a social circle that naturally crossed paths with him. Soon, Hailey and Justin were being photographed together. They went to dinner. They went to the movies. And on one occasion, Hailey was reportedly seen leaving Justin's house the following morning. To fans watching from the outside, it seemed like the childhood Bieber fan was finally getting closer to the celebrity she had admired for years. The biggest obstacle, at least according to the online narrative, was still Selena Gomez. Justin continued speaking publicly about his feelings for Selena, even during their periods apart. That apparently didn't stop Hailey from making her own presence known. Old tweets and social media activity resurfaced over the years, including posts that appeared to support people shipping Hailey and Justin together. Some fans interpreted this as jealousy toward Selena. Others saw it simply as the behavior of a young celebrity, navigating an extremely complicated social environment. Either way, the rivalry narrative became impossible to ignore, and then came the accusations that Hailey was copying Selena. Over the years, fans have compiled countless examples of Hailey and Selena appearing in similar outfits, poses, hairstyles, and photo concepts. Sometimes, the similarities were minor and could easily be explained by fashion trends. But other examples became much more controversial, because fans claimed Hailey posted similar looks shortly after Selena. One of the most frequently discussed examples involves tattoos. Selena Gomez got a small G tattoo behind her ear, reportedly connected to her younger sister Gracie. Not long afterward, Hailey was photographed with a similar G tattoo in a similar location. Hailey said her tattoo had a different meaning, referring to Georgia, the daughter of her pastor. For Hailey's supporters, that was enough to dismiss the comparison. For critics, it became another piece of evidence in the growing theory that Hailey was unusually focused on Selena. The controversy only grew after Justin and Selena's final breakup. In 2018, Justin briefly reunited with Selena before ultimately marrying Hailey. Just months later, Justin and Hailey were married. Hailey had gone from being a teenage Bieber fan to becoming Justin Bieber's wife. But the Selena comparisons didn't disappear. In fact, they became even louder. When Selena released Lose You to Love Me, fans noticed that Hailey posted a screenshot of herself listening to another song, which some interpreted as a response. Hailey later indicated that the timing was simply coincidental. Then came another tattoo. Hailey debuted a J tattoo on her ring finger, clearly associated with Justin. Fans immediately compared it to jewelry Justin had previously given Selena. Again, there was no definitive proof of an intentional connection, but the internet had already created its own storyline. The situation became even more controversial when Hailey was reportedly spotted near Selena's album release event in Los Angeles. Online accounts claimed that Justin's music was requested at the restaurant while Selena's event was taking place. Much of this story came from social media posts and fan accounts, so it is difficult to separate verified events from internet speculation. But one thing was undeniable: people were watching Hailey and Selena's every move. The comparisons eventually moved beyond Justin. When Selena launched Selena Plus Chef, fans praised the show's casual, home-based concept. Later, Hailey released her own cooking series, What's in My Kitchen. Almost immediately, people began comparing the two. Fans pointed out similarities in the home setting, the camera style, the introductions, and even the way family members were brought into the cooking segments. Hailey's show ultimately lasted only a handful of episodes. Critics argued that the similarities were too obvious. Supporters argued that cooking shows naturally share common formats. Once again, there was no definitive proof that Hailey had intentionally copied Selena. But by this point, the public had already developed a pattern in its mind. And once people start looking for similarities, almost everything can become evidence. Perhaps the most fascinating part of this entire story isn't whether every individual accusation is true, it's the fact that Hailey's teenage dream actually happened. Millions of girls experienced Bieber fever. Millions had posters of Justin on their walls. Millions dreamed about meeting him. But Hailey was one of the very few who eventually ended up marrying him. From meeting Justin backstage at 13, to appearing at his concerts, to becoming part of his social circle, and eventually dating and marrying him, the timeline is undeniably remarkable. That's why people still joke that Hailey had a decade-long plan. But there's another side to this story. Spending years being compared to your husband's famous ex-girlfriend can hardly be easy, and for Selena, constantly having her name connected to Justin and Hailey must have been equally exhausting. The internet turned three real people into characters in a never-ending love triangle. Every tattoo became a clue. Every Instagram post became a message. Every outfit became a copy. Every song became a response. And every coincidence became part of the conspiracy. The truth is probably far more complicated than the internet version. Hailey eventually became Justin Bieber's wife. Selena built a career and identity entirely separate from that relationship. And Justin's life continued to evolve in ways that neither fan communities nor social media could completely control. But one thing remains fascinating. A 13-year-old girl once stood backstage hoping to meet her favorite pop star. Years later, she stood beside that same person as his wife. Whether you see it as extraordinary determination, a remarkable coincidence, or simply two people whose lives eventually crossed at the right moment, Hailey Baldwin's journey from Bieber fan to Hailey Bieber is certainly one of pop culture's most unusual transformations. And perhaps that's why, more than a decade later, people are still talking about it.